I'm Jordan Douglas. This is called Artistic Inheritance, Father and Son. It was presented at PechaKucha, Burlington, live on Thursday, June 13th, 2024. In early 2021, my sister Stephanie and I moved my father to a nursing home as he was declining with dementia. We were faced with having to clear out and sell his house and studio of 54 years to pay for his care. He had become a hoarder, and within the clutter of the overstuffed brick cottage was a lifetime of art. After securing all the visible work, we dug in to find countless boxes and stacks of drawings and paintings. Eventually, in the dank recesses of his basement, we discovered the stash of portraits he had long talked about. Stephen Douglas had early success as a Broadway illustrator. Fresh out of the High School of Music and Art in Manhattan in 1954, he changed his name from Cohen and worked with nearly all the important actors of the era. Now, for the first time, we were able to see his stylized caricatures, signed by the celebrities. These portraits once filled a wall at a popular restaurant and bar in the Theater District. In a 1955 modern screen feature about Marilyn Monroe, she is pictured at the famed Actors Studio with Eli Wallach, Ben Gazzara, and on the left, my father, who was only 18. After a couple of years of travels in Europe and Puerto Rico, when his work became increasingly realistic, he enrolled at the Art Students League to study oil painting and traditional techniques. Living in Manhattan, he worked on commission and had occasional exhibitions. In 1963, my father attended a lecture by an Indian guru and was inspired to give up his drive for material success. He became a vegetarian and practiced meditation. He married my mother, a Holocaust survivor, and they moved upstate to Westchester to live closer to nature and raise children. Here we are, next to the old house in Yorktown Heights in 1970. I'm looking up at my younger brother, Gavin. Away from the lights of the city, my dad taught classes at home and at art centers around the region, and he drew and painted voraciously. To me, his watercolors are the most exciting, for they reveal his dance on the tightrope between control and risk. Though my father was a difficult figure, he was a gifted teacher. When I was a child, he taught me how to use pencils and paint, but more importantly, he taught me the language of art. He showed me how to study shadows to understand dimension, and to look at the big picture before focusing on the details. His lessons have stayed with me in my career as an artist and teacher. He continued to make art into his 80s, even as his world became increasingly dysfunctional. Now, I have the responsibility of managing my father's legacy. There are over 1,000 pieces of work, much of it in need of restoration. In time, I hope to find ways to bring his art to a larger audience. It took a year during the pandemic to empty and sell the house, which had been a touchstone in my life. My process of letting go required me to find avenues for my creativity. With each visit, I shot black and white film to capture the steady undoing of my father's world. Images which have become the series 950 Starlight Road. As we sifted through piles and piles of dad-tritis, I collected objects that spoke of the eccentric artist. Back in Vermont, I photographed these items over a lightbox as a way of remembering. As I assessed the contact sheets, I noticed that the objects were speaking to each other. I scanned the sheets so that I could digitally crop into smaller grids. For the first 10 rolls, the visual relationships across frames and rows were unplanned, and then I began to arrange the sequences more intentionally. The contact grids were first exhibited at Burlington's new art studio in May of 2023 and were then featured at the Panopticon Gallery in Boston, where my lovely sister Stephanie joined me at the opening. Stephen Douglas died June 26, 2023. On the eve of bringing his ashes to be scattered into the dunes and waves of Cape Cod, I got inspired to photograph his mortal remains. I opened the old Chinese tea tin he once kept in his kitchen and poured his cremated ashes over photographs. My image from 2008 of his hands holding soil in his backyard. My father, the artist, as a baby, gazes from beneath the dust of his own body.